today we're going to talk about how to make a pattern for your drawings or of your drawings, and we're going to upload them to spoonflower.com to make sure that the patterns repeat evenly and that they work as a pattern design. So first you're going to log in to spoonflower.com, and I posted this login on the agenda, but it's my email. You're going to log in with my information and then Dragon, DR with the @ GON. You have to click this I'm not a robot, and you're going to log in. So once you're logged in here, you can start to upload your designs to see if they work. So we're going to go over to Illustrator, and I'm going to show you how to create a pattern with your drawings. So I've been really careful to choose something I really like color scheme wise. You want a color scheme that's going to flow when you add in your other elements. So I've kind of changed some of the dots on my pears to this plum color. I thought the plum colored would complement the green really nicely. So I just put this off to the side and I sampled the colors with the eyedropper tool and drag them into my palette. So I'm going to kind of carry this with me into my pattern. So to start, I'm going to grab my pear, and you might have multiple objects, but you're going to open up your files with your objects and you're going to select them, and you want to group them together. I've already grouped mine, so it says ungroup, just so they don't fall apart when you move them. So I'm going to File, go to New. I want to create a file that's 8 inches by 8 inches. So make sure you just do a custom size here, 8 by 8. And then hit choose, and it will create a new square page. If I zoom out, you can see it's a nice square. And what I'm going to do here is go back to my pear, and I'm going to select both of these. I'm going to bring my color palette over too. I'm going to copy them, Control C, and then paste, Control V, or I could go up to edit and copy, and then edit and paste. Okay, Control minus to zoom out. I'm going to move these over. I'm going to delete the colors in just a minute. But before I do that, I'm just going to kind of center this on my page, hold shift so things don't get out of whack. And then I'm just going to kind of make my own little color palette really quick in this area just by clicking, oops, and dragging them over, because I want to use some of these colors once I start to build my pattern. So just kind of save them over here in the swatches, drag them down. Sometimes it's a little finicky if you don't drag right to the correct area. Okay, but I have to get rid of this swatch sample image before I go in to create my pattern. So that's why I'm doing this all ahead of time. So if you've got certain colors you're using, make sure they're over here loaded in your swatches. So now I've got all my colors saved. So I'm just going to click on this and delete it. Okay, so I've got my pear on my page. I'm going to select the pear, and then I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go down to Pattern. Pattern make. So this is a newer feature, which is really nice because it kind of creates repeating patterns automatically for you. When you first get into this pattern area, it's going to automatically lay it out in a grid, but the first thing you have to do is you're going to change this width times height to the exact size of your page, which is 8 inches by 8 inches. Click over here. Okay, now this blue square is actually what is making your pattern. It's not aligned with my page right now. That doesn't even matter, but I'm going to use this blue square as my guide to where I'm going to lay things out. So let's just see here. I think I can click on this. Oops, no, I don't want to change the size though. I could like use my arrow tool or something and just move this over. We're just going to leave it because I don't want to mess with the size. It should be exactly 8 by 8. You can ignore the white page. Now I'm looking at the blue square because that's where it's building my pattern from. So just ignore the white page because I have a feeling a lot of you, it's not going to align, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so now I can see here, I can chart different patterns. This is a brick by row, so it kind of staggers them like bricks, like every other. You can do brick by column, which is vertically. And then you can see down here where it says copies, you can look at, and it'll show you lots of copies. So I can zoom out, and I like to zoom out to kind of see how this will look. So you can zoom in here, and you could take this and you can copy and paste it. Like if you wanted to have, I don't know, 2 different pairs overlapping or kind of, I'm going to make this smaller, kind of together like that. You could do that. I can add in shapes. I can add in lines. So this is where I start to really build my pattern. So let's see, I'm going to do a circle. And I'm going to fill my circle with one of my colors and my swatches that I thought would go really nicely. And then I have to right click and arrange and send to the back so it goes behind. I can also start to do, maybe I'll do some polka dots here. Try some different colors. Now it's using that blue outline, whoops, to undo that one. Using the blue outline to create your pattern. So you'll see here, if I put something on the edge of this blue box, it's going to repeat it in another area. Let's see. I can take this and bring that down. So you can really start to see how this will build up. I'm going to click over here, whoops, cancel, and just zoom out. So once you get it to look the way you like it, as long as you've made it 8 by 8 and you start creating your pattern, it starts to repeat it. I'm looking at this blue box. Everything in the blue box gets repeated. I'm ignoring the white page. Sometimes it aligns perfectly and sometimes it doesn't, but I'm just going to ignore it. When I'm done, I'm going to wait to add in a background color. So I'm going to click done. And I come back here. I'm going to go Control-0 to just zoom in. I am going to get rid of this pair now. And if you look over here, this is where my pattern is. It made it into a swatch. So make sure you have your swatches open. Now what I need to do is I need to create an 8 by 8 square. It's the perfect exact size as this page. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool. And I'm going to double click on my page. And it gives me the option to set the size of the rectangle. So I've put it 8 by 8 and I click OK. Now right now, look, it's got the fill on my pattern, which I want. It doesn't have an outline. You want to make sure it does not have an outline. Now I could go to my arrow tool and try to get this right in place, but just to be safe, so it's perfectly aligned in the exact same size as the page, I'm going to go up to the alignment tab. So if you're on Essentials Classic, you should see the alignment. And when you go there, make sure down here that it says align to the artboard. And then you're going to align it both horizontally and both vertically, just to make sure it's perfectly centered. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I kind of want to add in a color in the background. I could just leave it white, that's fine too. But just to show you guys, if you want to do a color, you're going to do the same thing. Go to the rectangle tool, double click, make sure it says 8 by 8. And then instead of filling it with a pattern, fill it with a color. And then you would want to align this. And then you could send it to the back, arrange, send to the back. It's just very important that you keep everything really aligned, because what's going to happen is this is going to repeat right here. And see how the edge of this circle is clipped? It actually comes in perfectly on the bottom. So when it repeats, it fills this area with what's below it. Or here it fills, you know, as it goes over and over and over. Okay. So let's go here. We're going to go to File, and we're always going to save as your Illustrator file first. So let's just call Pair Pattern 1, just so you can go make changes, because a lot of times you will have to make adjustments to these. And I always want to make sure that that stroke is off. Otherwise, it's going to repeat a square around your design. Now I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to Export. Export as. And for this one, I'm going to choose PNG, but I'm not going to click Use Artboards. That's the key here. Don't click Use Artboards. For whatever reason, it doesn't work well when you do that. So I'm going to export, and always a 300 ppi, and a white background is fine. Okay, so now that it's saved as a PNG, I'm going to go over to Spoonflower. I'm going to upload my design, choose it. And we have this one, Pear Pattern 1. Sometimes it takes a second to upload, but we're going to go here. We're going to click this copyright, saying that it's original artwork, and then you're going to upload your file. From this point on, you're just going to make sure that it aligns correctly. If it doesn't, we'll have to go back into your file and make sure you follow the steps exactly. Like you might have missed something. If you miss something in those steps, it can be really, really finicky. So here it's going, processing. It's taking a moment here. And then it brings us here to the pattern area. Now, if you look, there's different options here. So we did like a different pattern. We didn't do basic. So you might have to, if it doesn't line up, you'll have to click on these to kind of get a preview. I'm gonna go smaller, smaller. I just wanna make sure I don't see any weird lines and that everything lines up. So that looks pretty good. For whatever reason, if you click that use artboards when you go to export your PNGs, sometimes weird lines appear. So we can't use the artboards for the PNG option here. So it worked perfectly. Now through this, I can look, if I click up here, I can look, they have wallpaper you can choose. We are gonna just use, there's the wallpaper. So you can see it a little smaller too. Like if you wanted the design smaller, you just have to flick through these to kind of see how it will look. And then you can order wallpaper. We're going to order for everyone in here a swatch of fabric. So what I want you to do is find which pattern works best. And then you're going to go down to the size. We're going to choose a test swatch. So with this, the test swatch, you're going to make it smaller so that you can see your design repeated. So this is an 8x8 piece of fabric that you're going to get. We're going to order. And so you want to make sure you can see your pattern repeated on it, but you don't want it to be like super small that you can't see the drawings. So I kind of just choose something where it's repeated several times. And then you're going to actually choose the type of fabric. I'm just going to suggest satin is really shiny. That's a nice one. If you don't want it quite so shiny, there's something called sateen, organic cotton sateen. That's another nice option for just cotton. It's a little bit like shiny, not much though, but it prints really nicely on there. So those are my top two that I would pick, but you're welcome to choose any of these. It's kind of a luck of the draw though, because I don't know what they all look like. So choose whatever one appeals to you, but I suggest satin, or if you don't want something so shiny, do the organic cotton sateen. So you're just going to choose one. When you do that, oh, it just moved this again. So I got to go back down and go to test swatch, make sure it looks okay. And then you're going to actually add it to the cart. And then we will order these. The things that you've tried, if you try things and they don't work, they're going to be saved in this gallery. Like you can see former students have tried a lot of different things. Just put in the cart the ones that you like. And then you can also like go to wallpaper and take like a screenshot and put it on your website. You know, take a screenshot of your pattern too. So like I could just go in and go to the snipping tool and take a screenshot of this just to have it as a mock-up for my website. And then there's other pattern mock-ups too that you might want to use, like their rolls of fabric and things like that would look great on your website. So make like multiple versions and just see how they look. So I'm going to call this wallpaper 1. And that would upload nicely to a website and just be like a nice stock image. But I can also take a picture of my pattern here. I recommend that too because it's repeating a lot and it's not repeating in your Illustrator file. It just shows the swatch. So I'm going to take a snipping tool of this as well and save it just so I have some different patterns to use in my mock-ups later. So this is just a nice way to display it. Okay, so it's probably going to take you a few tries, but that's okay. Don't get discouraged. You can also upload just your photo or your PNG of your one object, and it will repeat it for you here. But I like the repeating pattern option in Illustrator. It's simple, it's new, and it's easy. So as long as you follow those steps, you should be fine.